Welcome everybody to the Ravens Outpost. It's it's a Q&A night, which means I, I didn't prepare anything for tonight. Not really. I did, but it's one of those things where the subject matter I'd picked out was a little heavy, and I'm like, with all the bullshit going on in the world today, who wants that heavy mess? I know I don't. So, whoever wants to chime in, if anybody's got a question for me, put in all caps in the chat. Not like there's anybody here yet. I'll give it a couple of minutes. Been a pretty eventful couple of days. Gotten back out in the field. If anybody's Mr. Lee, what's up? Miss Dill, how you doing? How are you doing? I put my notice up late. Oh, me. Excusez-moi. It's been, I guess, saying it's been one of them days. Like I said, if you look at the title of the show, I just didn't feel like laying anything heavy on tonight. I want to be a little lighter. And, give a little, Sharon, how in the world are you? Prayers going out to you, Miss Sharon. A big day tomorrow. Do you like those? Those are some of the weirdest wood knocks I've ever heard. They were rapid fire, man. They were crazy. I was chasing some down today. Couldn't get to them. Yeah, I know, right? And they weren't woodpeckers. That wasn't a woodpecker doing that. Howdy, Joe. Squatching Cowboy. People's rolling in. Got the late show going on. So how's everybody doing tonight? Hope everybody's doing okay. Let's pop out here. See if the chat will come up on my screen. I went full screen. I wish StreamYard had a dark mode. Oh, poop. Anyway. And you guys get to see that post besides Mr. Lee there, get to see that video I posted yesterday. The wood knocks. I'm watching chat. So you know I was here. Thank you, Sharon. I heard him again today. I went out there. I had a couple of times where it got real quiet too. Couldn't hear nothing but ravens and crows. I'm telling you, the ravens and crows are working with the ones that the troop or the group, clan, whatever you want to call them, the forest folk are living out here where I'm at. Hey man, hoaxes and hoodwinks. Welcome. Yeah, I know, right? I tried to crank up the. I tried to crank up the audio as best I could because you know it wasn't picking up. Not like I wanted to. I knew it wasn't. I mean, you could hear it, but you had to really, really listen for it. So I had to try and crank up the audio some. Don't they? I think they do. I think they know my intentions too. Ha ha. Miss Deal. Play that flute. You know, I might just do that. I might just do that. Hey, Craig. What's up, man? Yeah, man, it was a beautiful day today. I had to get out in it. And after what happened yesterday, I'm like, maybe I can get it happen again. I heard it way off. Jackie, how are you doing? I I have no idea, man. I don't, I haven't seen it happen myself, so I mean, I guess people are talking about it. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. I was watching Bigfoot Odyssey tonight, and Carrie's talking about how intelligent they are. I'm telling you, here's what I'm thinking. I think that they're smart enough to play us for idiots, especially when they know we're out there and they pick up on what our intention is. You know, I mean, how many times have you seen people hear this wood knock and let's chase this down, and next thing you know, you hear something behind you, and you're just getting roped. And I just get this feeling they just sit back and say, "Look at these idiots," and just giggle their asses off. That's what I think. We're dumb. Oh, I mean, to them, we probably seem like we are. I just really do think we're going about it the wrong way. I don't, but it's just me. I mean, everybody's got their own opinion. everybody's got the way they do things, you know, how they operate. But me personally, this is just how I feel about it. If we're looking at Sasquatch, we're talking um, a supernatural Sasquatch. Let's see. What about supernatural Sasquatch? I think there's more to them than what people think. And I believe there's a science behind it. I believe there's a science behind everything. Um, I believe that listening and all of this, like, I'm no expert. I don't claim to be. I've got my own personal experiences. Never saw one though. I I might consider myself lucky, you know, but I still would like to see one. I think, as a matter of fact, yeah, I would love to see one. I would love to sit down and talk with one. I would love to sit down and break bread with one. As crazy as it sounds, um, ain't no believing that they're an actual living, breathing being. I know they are. I've had them in my head, poking around. That I didn't like. I didn't like that one damn bit. Not one damn bit. But I think they're like, I mean, humans to a certain degree. I mean, you got good ones, you got bad ones. You got some that are more in tune than others. I mean, some of us are physically sports oriented. Some of us are academically oriented, and I believe it's the same with them. Some of them are somewhere in between, but I just think they're on a whole different level than we are. But I believe there are people. I believe there are people, and I think that's where a lot of people are messing up. They still have it in their mind that they're not. I believe they still have it in their mind that these are the Sasquatch is some type of North American great ape, or at the least, or primitive man. I mean, with good reason, I would say. I mean, look how many times you've got people talking about how savage they act with their interactions with them. I mean, it's just. Yeah, I do think so. I think what we have to do with what we're able to accomplish through technology, they're able to accomplish through the metaphysical. I think that they're capable, some are actually capable of manipulating their surroundings. But it's just a theory. I don't have anything to really base that on, other than all the eyewitness accounts. I mean, how many people have you heard of? You know, they say, well, they just disappeared, or they just come out of nowhere, or they put me to sleep. There was this unexplainable fear, a terror that comes over you. You know, the some people can't some people can't explain it. So what do you guys think? Time loss. There's something to that. Exactly. Exactly. It's like I was saying earlier. Look at humans. We got good ones, we got bad ones. Brent Thomas just said it earlier. There are people who are good and kind who'll give you the shirt off their back. Then there are other people out here who will punch you in the faces as soon as look at you. I mean, there are good people and there are evil people out here. I'm telling you. How you doing tonight, Ray? I made it out of the woods alive. It was a good time. It's quiet. I wouldn't expect any less. I'm living in the state of Virginia, the southwestern end, close to West Virginia, Tennessee, and Kentucky, North Carolina. Really close to all those places. I'm not far away from, let's see, I'm not far away from Chrissy. I'm not far away from Eric either. I was kind of expecting him to come on. Commanders fan. They lost me when they lost the Redskin. Shit. I tell you what, man. The only one pissing and moaning about that mascot was some self-loathing leftoid. I have not seen Lockbeard today. And I've been all over the place. I was over on Gary's channel earlier. Here we go. Wow. I believe that. Well, you need to dig around and start, finding some of the stuff that it's out there. I think each one of us have latent psychic abilities. Brandon, how you doing, pal? It's Q&A night. I didn't have a whole lot. God almighty. It's one of these nights, man. I'm usually better put together than this, but I'm leaving it up to you guys. This as much as y'all showed is mine. I'm just steering the ship a little bit. Most of the time, y'all the one giving me direction. Well, let's talk about this. Okay. It's got a bigger gamey taste. That's a fact. Because all that adrenaline. That adrenaline pumping through the body, and they're still scared. You lay them low, you'll still taste it. So I used to soak mine in beer. I'm not kidding you. I'd soak my deer meat in beer to get that gamey taste out of it. Why not? Buttermilk's good too. No, that's cool. That's really good. Yep. It don't scare 'em or run 'em. Makes 'em gamey. That's right. That's right. All depends on what you taste for. That's right. So, that's what I'm going to be doing next couple of days. Spending some time. Um, Gonna be spending some time with my mama over the weekend. Um, there, just letting you guys know, there will be no show Friday night. I got some family stuff going on. And like I said, I'm gonna be spending some time with my mom. I got the link in the chat if somebody wants to hop in and talk paranormal stuff. Put it in one more time. But dope. You got any questions? Just throw them up in all caps. I guarantee you I wouldn't. Brandon, I guarantee you. Bruh. I once here recently made a comment that yeah, come on, Brandon. It's open. Just hit that link, man. You know you're welcome here anytime. Dude. Do I have any idea why boogers is good enough leaving tracks? I don't know, man. How is it they will leave a couple, but then they wouldn't, there's not any. I mean, you'll be following a set of tracks and then they're gone. I've done that. They appear out of nowhere and then disappear. It's like, where do they go? I have no idea. I don't know how the hell they do that. I understand being light on your feet, but come on, that's ridiculous. Oh, come on. I'm not a good storyteller and I would butcher it. Let's see if I record. Well, that's cool. Hell, man, see if he'll come on. I will. I will. She's not doing too good. She's not. She had open heart surgery. Well, not open heart. I'll take that back. That's a lie. She had stents. She had a stent put in. Needs another one put in, but the blockage was so bad that the surgeon was just not ready for the. It was worse than what they had anticipated. So they put one stent in and opened up an artery. So that opened that up. 100% opened up. But it's like her body's retaining more fluid now than it did before. Her kidneys are shot. She's on dialysis. Now she's got to go dialysis 3 times a week. And on top of that, not only they're doing that, they got to pull fluid off of her. She's all swole up. She feels like crap. Can hardly breathe. Oh, dude, I've got to hear it. You don't think you look, Brandon, my guy. We we've talked for a little bit now. You've told me some stories, and you had me like on the edge of my seat, like, whoa, that is so cool. That's so cool. I guarantee you that everybody in here, and if I'm not look, okay, I'm not pressuring. I'm just saying. The door's open, my man. The door's open. Thanks, Jackie. I love my mama. The only one I got. That's so cool. We've lost so much. Thanks, Sharon. Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Family history is family history, and when it comes down to your tribal history, sometimes you want to keep that close to the chest. I completely get that. I completely get that. Thanks, bruh. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Run it by me. 74 first time. Mm-hmm. I get you. I get you. I bet you, Pyro. I bet you regretting saying anything now. Tell you what, dude. You got my number. Hit me up. I mean, it's up to you whether you want to come on or not. It's up to you whether you want to tell your story or not. I mean, well, actually, it's up to the elders if you tell this story or not. But we're here. We're willing to listen, and I think about everybody here is of an open mind enough to sit here and not judge nobody. But once it's out here in the interwebs, it's out here in the interwebs. How you doing, Hiker X? Got any takers? Anybody want to hop on and banter tonight? I got a lot going on. This may not be a very long stream. This is a good one. Portals and other dimensions. Watch aliens being seen together. Okay. I don't know. Portals. I know you can open portals through summoning and bring spirits into this world. That's a portal. But that is a spirit that may be able to manifest in a physical form, some form, fashion down the line. Okay. We'll entertain this. Portals, as you know, are they able to do that? Can they manipulate frequencies like I think they can, or some of them can? I don't think all of them are capable of doing this. I think some of them are. And you, maybe the most, right. Look, demons, or what we refer to as demons, just they're malevolent spirits. That's what they are. They're extra dimensional. I don't know. I will tell you this much. Wednesday, since I had I was going to have a guy come on the show Friday night, but since I've got to cancel and I had to reschedule, he was able to come on and hold on, wait a minute, what? Miss Sharon, you okay? Did it come from inside the house? It came from inside the house. Okay. This right here, this right here is what makes the life of a dispatcher really hard. Because you get the call, you dispatch units to the scene, and then you don't know what's going on. You have to hear through radio traffic what's going on and this, that, and the other. I'm so glad my wife is out of that stuff now. I'm so glad. Something she avoided today. We have this place called the Smart Road. Virginia Tech tests road conditions. It's set up to simulate weather conditions on this road. It's called the Smart Road, and someone drove down here from Nova because he heard the Smart Road had the tallest bridge in Virginia. He drove down here, got on that bridge, and just politely jumped off. Did a Peter Pan swan dive right off it. And I will tell you this much. You will reach terminal velocity from there. I mean, there's no surviving that. If you were close, I'd be out the door right now. Damn it, man. Like I said, Brandon, you sound like you from Southwest Virginia. Well, hey, Chrissy, how you doing? So getting back to Miss Sharon, are you all right? You better have a pistol or a shotgun in your hand. I'm 6'1", 260 pounds, and know my way around a fisticuffs. But I would, I no. Pop, pop. How you doing, Rick? Glad to see you. Glad you could make it, man. Glad you could make it. Hey, Della, how you doing? And Sharon, yeah, by all means, be careful. Like I said, I hope you got a firearm in your hand. Good, 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 good. That's what I want to hear. Papa, there we go. Chrissy, how are you doing? I hear you. I hear you. So we're patiently waiting on the results of Sharon's find on the other side of her freaking door. I think that some Sasquatch may be able to manipulate their surroundings, like I said before. And that meaning they may be able to open a portal and teleport from one place to another. Maybe they're able to take the whole clan with them. Use of sonic vibrations. There's a lot of people who sit back and, I don't know, look at me like I'm crazy, but that's okay. I don't give a shit what you think. It's just a theory. Ray, you so crazy. Oh, me. Hey, the link is in the freaking chat. I'm going to put it in here again. If someone has a story to tell, some information to share, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on. Oh, Lordy. I had that happen one time, and that's when I was living in that house that was haunted by something. I hear you. Okay. You hear a scream coming from inside your house, it chills your bones. That shit ain't no joke. Absolutely. But as far as supernatural goes, I think there's a science behind it. Everybody's looking for, there's got to be a science. There's got to be science. But I believe there is a science to it. I believe there's a science behind all of it. And it's just something we don't really fully understand. And it's because we're stuck in our own little world and can't think outside that box. Because things have to work in a certain way. And people just can't get past that. It's physically impossible for somebody to manipulate their spatial surroundings to open up a portal to teleport. That's just ridiculous. Is it now? Is it? Is it really? How the hell do you know? You take how many people out here who have done that, who've witnessed that. Mr. Lee, I had a page of stuff written down in order to go by. When Lee said we're on, it was like getting punched in the face by Mike Tyson. Then it just rolled out. Dude, it was a great show, man. You were on top of it. You were my freaking co-host that night, man. And couldn't ask for a better one. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what they believe they are. Wormholes, maybe. Could be what they call a temporal vortex. Something, a wormhole. You get talking like that, and some people look at you like you got three heads. But who's to say that's not so? There's a lot to the woo. Man, I'm just so sick of that word, man. I really am. It's so derogatory. It's like saying the N-word anymore to me. So scared the hell out of you, cat. Rosemary, how are you? Welcome to the Outpost. Welcome. We're talking about whatever comes up. And making sure Sharon ain't got no wood booger out there in her front yard. Or outside her back door. Wow. I remember when I used to be able to sit in front of a camera and couldn't, be able to. That's a kind of a oxymoron there. I remember when I couldn't sit in front of a camera for longer than 2 minutes. Now I'm sitting here talking to a bunch of people in front of me, not freezing up, and I've been talking for almost 50 minutes. My gum's just a flapping. Yeah. I'd be like staring into the sun. Name's right on the tip of my tongue. Oh, crap. But it's like, this right here goes in line with one of the things one of my theories about how people have interactions with the paranormal is when there's been a change in their vibrational frequency that makes them more susceptible or makes them able to perceive something different. You look at, let's take Carrie Arnold, for instance. Look at how many people he lost in such a short span of time and what frame of mind he was in when he went turkey hunting that day. Yeah, he was going out there to get away, but he was still in that low vibrational frequency. And I believe that Sasquatch picked up on it. I mean, like that, picked up on it. because he'd been through so much turmoil, grief, strife. It weighed heavy on him, and it changed his vibrational frequency. Whether it be permanent or temporary, I'm not sure how that works, but I think that's what happened. I think that's how that Sasquatch was able to tell he was there, not just by looking at him. You can tell intent. But I thought at first it was, his intent to be out there. He was a hunter. He had a violent intent. I don't believe it was that. Looking more into these cases where people have had some type of bad experience, and Wes Germer, take him and his brother's experience. They'd lost 2 family members and they were grieving, and they just said, "Look, let's go. Let's go up on a mountain. Let's go drinking." And they were in that low vibrational frequency. They were mourning. And then something happened. It led them there. That's just a theory. Oh, no offense taken, bruh. Bless your heart. During a separation like that, in some cases, in the separation, one person in that relationship may feel a sense of mourning, a sense of loss, and that will alter their vibrational frequency. Same here, PapaC. Same here. I'm proud to be a redneck. Oh. Pyro, where are you? They're all wondering, man. I don't know. You ever watch Stargate? SG-1? How some of them go through and they give the... Is it probable that the it is ever waiting for a frequency to open the door? I'd say so. I'd say a bunch of them are sitting there chomping at the bit and waiting for a door to be opened somewhere. The part of us as humans is our hubris. I mean, to a certain degree, our egos get in the way. Stargate SG-1 was a great show, man. I loved it. Every freaking season was good. This right here is sad. Yeah, Mr. Lee, I didn't know that. I must have missed that in chat. I know it's like to lose one of my furry buddies. Well, he's not a pet, he's a friend. A real friend, a member of the family. I remember my little boy Rocky died. I cried like a baby. I mean, I just went limp. I just cried like a baby. Because I lost my buddy. It was rough. Real rough. Yeah, Mr. Lee, I'm sorry to hear about that. Really sorry. Heart goes out to you, brother. My buddy, the one I did the story about, the man out of time. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. There's a video I did a while back. It's titled "The Man Out of Time," and it's about my brother from another mother. I mean, I got a hold of him the other day, and it doesn't matter how much time has passed between us. We can start talking like we just stopped talking yesterday. It does not matter. And he was saying, Ray, that he's been trying for a long time to open that portal again, see if he can shift, see if he can move around again. I told him exactly what you told me about being taken. He said he's never felt like he was being taken. It's okay to find out. I get you. I totally get that. I hear you. I've got 3 cats, 2 dogs, and a freaking hamster. There's a link if anybody wants to chat, man. Hop on in. Also, too, I'm probably going to be changing up the rotation of the schedule here for the shows because my wife has gotten this new job and it's going to require me getting up a lot earlier than normal. Staying up to 2 o'clock in the morning is going to be a little rough. Yeah, Jackie, if you want to jump on, you're more than welcome. Come on. Why don't you jump on, Ray? It'll be okay. You're amongst family. Look at that. Look at that. See? Iron Badger Bear Lady. That is a badass title. Dude, that is just badass. There's no. Only thing more badass than that I could think of is being nicknamed the Wrath of God. just I mean, yeah. Yeah, I was a little late getting the notification out by about 45 minutes, I think. I only put it up there 45 minutes before I went live. Something like that. And I usually tend to listen to this lady right here. Because she's razor sharp. Fact. Hey, Danny. Well, you ain't got to show your face if you don't want to. You just can talk. I mean, it's like, all right, I could do this. Boom. See? All you see is that raven standing there, which is a lot better to look at than, we'll say, this. Jackie!
Hey!
How are you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Not bad, not bad. Thank you for coming on.
Good to see ya.
Good to see you too. Hey, you know, I don't know your story with your interest in Sasquatch. What happened there?
No one knows my story. They don't let me out much. I'm kidding.
Shoot.
Come on, Ray. I was hoping she's going to join us.
Ray,
Yeah,
come
I've
on.
had a few weird things. Like I've said, all of my experiences, I was so disconnected when it happened. I never put the two together, even though they were saying, "Oh, wild man, wild man." I considered wild man as like a trapper, like someone that goes out in Alaska, because you see them all the time. They just live on the land out there. So that's what my mind was thinking every time I heard the term. Even the wood carvings. You want to hear something even worse? Is that Arctic man? They have one. They have the wild man that goes down first. He's the first skier that gets pulled by snow machine and he's in full Sasquatch uniform. But I'm like, what is Chewbacca doing?
What's Chewbacca?
Like, I never. Yeah. So you got to keep that like in reference when you're kind of listening to my story, because the disconnect is so vast and far and wide. It's almost borderline ridiculous.
Trust me, I get it. Up to like 7 years ago, I thought it was a big joke. I really did. Until it happened to me. I had something happen to me. I didn't know what it was. This happened back in 2006. My first encounter. Right? I mean, I'm solo camping and I hear this. It's my last night there. I've been there for 3 nights. Smooth sailing. Great. Solo camping. Last night. I hear something down the holler behind me. I'm like, what in the hell was that? And it was a roar, a howl to a scream, and it was fucking loud. And I'm like, what in the that wasn't no coyote. That wasn't no bear. I know exactly what they sound like. I don't know what the hell that was, and it happened 3 times. And I was off that mountain. And it wasn't until, let's say, 2015. I was cruising along YouTube looking for something to watch and stumbled on Sasquatch Chronicles, and it happened to be the one where he's, the Ohio howl, and he was going through the There we go. He was going on the Sierra Sounds too. What's up, Pop?
Hello. What are you guys doing? I went to make a cup of coffee and the iron dogger jumped on there.
That's right.
Well, I was feeding my face with some Thai soup that was trying to cleanse my soul at the same time. So thank God.
It'll do it. It'll clean your soul right out and everything else.
It's like,
So before I rudely interrupted you, Jackie,
yeah,
what was
right?
you, what was you saying?
I was lost. I wasn't here.
So Lee was sharing what he was dealing with.
Yeah, like I said, it was then that I realized that I'd had an interaction with a Sasquatch, and it blew my mind. And with all of my interaction with spirit phenomena, your ghosts, poltergeists, and other stuff, that was the one that flipped my world upside down. Because it's like, well, I always thought that was a joke, some legend, or if it was true, it was in the Pacific Northwest, like every other
Somewhere
poor
else.
schmuck in America. Yeah, I didn't know what it was, and it was like, haven't you ever heard of the Ohio Grass Man? No, what the hell is that? It's a Sasquatch. What how about the Swamp Ape? That's a Sasquatch. What? Get out of here! What about,
Yeah, exactly. What? They're all this. What?
yeah, it's like, get out of here! No way.
Where have I been?
Then it became sort of an obsession for me for a while. I mean, it was quite awful. It
Yeah.
really was an obsession. After a while, I found out that it was real. I wasn't making this up in my head, and
So,
I go
sorry.
ahead.
Once you've made that connection, do you look back and go, "Oh my God! Now that incident that I just blew off as a moose or this or that or like, because it's so easy to just blow things off as something else, especially when you're like listening to all the noises in the woods and you spend a lot of time out there. It's not like you're going to sit there and just, every sound you're not jumpy and all flipping out about.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so you get to a point where you're almost a little too comfortable out there and you just kind of blow off a lot of things. But it's crazy how often I look back and some of the things and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. And now I'm
Exactly.
like, I don't know if now and I know what I know now, if I would do the
Mr.
same things
Lee.
I did then. Like, I don't know.
Exactly. So, what was your first one? What
Well,
was your
my
first encounter?
my very, very first encounter, it was with a group of friends, and we were walking some other. My friend and I were walking these kids home, and they had just cut this path through what they call the Campbell Lake Trails in Anchorage, and this was in the early '80s, and so Anchorage was still relatively small, and a lot of open land, a lot, and the Campbell Creek had salmon running in it, so it was pretty healthy system in there. And when we were walking through, something was pacing us. And I had spent a lot of time hunting with my dad, out camping and everything. So I was really familiar with like tracking animals and all of that kind of stuff. Not like a tracker, but pretty familiar. I felt comfortable enough to know, like, okay, that's not a bear. We would have seen it by now. Bears don't do this. Moose don't do this. So I'm going through the whole thing, but I'm trying to keep the group calm and preventing them from just running and bolting and causing all sorts of mayhem. And so as we were making our way through the trail, whatever it was keeping in perfect step with us. And we never saw it. And that's where I was like, this is bizarre. And you could tell it was really heavy. and because you could hear the footfall and stuff, and I'm like, what is that? And I like the only thing I could think of that would be pacing after us would be like a black bear will hunt humans like that. I'm thinking, well, maybe a cat, cat would possibly, a lynx would possibly be following us, and like, because we don't have big cats like cougars up there, you know. And so as we got to the end of the trail, whatever it was had gone from one side to the other, back and forth. We would stop, it would stop. We'd get going and stop, and it would do the same thing. And it was like, okay, I don't know any animal that does this. When we got to the end of the trail, they were trying to beg us not to go back that way home. And I'm like, we'll be fine. If it didn't show itself, it shouldn't be a problem. Like if it was going to be a predator, we would have seen it by now. And anyhow, so we all kind of turned around and looked down the trail. And as we were turning down the trail, whatever it was standing out. And now it was silhouette because the light was behind it. And it was like out, open legs, and like this. It's hard for me to show you with this little bit, like the legs were like this, the arm was out. I'm looking at it going, because you know how sometimes moose, when they're kind of sideways, they look different. Like animals can look, bears, even if they're going up a hill and stuff, and like, they kind of look a little different than what their body. Don't die on us, Papa. You okay?
Oh, I'm fine.
Okay.
These guys are making me laugh, and I'm joking.
Anyhow, so that thing was standing there, and I'm looking at it going, is that like a moose with just one antler? And whatever was here had stuff hanging off of it. So that's why I was thinking moose, because they rut and dig all sorts of crazy stuff in there. And so I'm just kind of and the mass of it. That was the other key, is because the chest size of it, that body cavity area, was massive. So I'm looking at it, and where the tree was, and you could tell it was way, like you're looking at, okay, 6 foot. I kind of know where my dad's height is. You're kind of looking at stuff in a distance, and you're going, holy crap, that thing's massive. It's about 100 yards away, so it's not close, but it's big enough that I could see the damn thing is huge. And that's why my brain is just going, our gears are breaking. And then it comes down to its side, and then the legs go ankle to ankle. And that's when I went, that's no animal. I know, like, that's not, and we all just bolted, just pew!
Whoa.
And for us to make it back, it was like an extra 5 miles all the way around. But man, we were just so, I was convinced it was like an escaped massive serial killer. Like that's kind of what we had in our brain. Never once did we put, you know what I'm saying? Like those I never put those two, even though the thing was way too big. Don't make humans that big.
Right.
And so that was like my first experience. And I just filed it away, went along with life, and didn't,
Wow.
never put that together ever. And I had watched like the Leonard Nimoy, and my mom was so into scary movies and all that kind of stuff. So I had seen all the different, I don't know, there was another Bigfoot movie where there was like horses and stuff when I was a kid. I remember watching, and but I never really thought, I don't know what it was. I don't know why that disconnect was there. It's so weird.
Cognitive dissonance has a way of taking us over when it comes to that. Our mind has defensive capabilities, to preserve our sanity, more or less. Sometimes.
But even, like I never saw what was on the river, on the Deshka River, but that scream was so intensely terrifying. Like nothing, I don't know, like there's animals even my dog can make a noise that I'm like, what the hell? I've never heard that come out of it before.
Right, right.
Animals will make sounds that people have never heard before, So I'm not going to say, I know exactly what every bear sounds like when it's making no, I don't know all the animal noises out there that every animal makes, but you kind of get a range, like, this is that, this kind of ranges. And that thing was so intense and loud and deep and just went through my chest. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, when it did that thing behind me, it was down in the holler, and I could almost feel it. It had a bass resonance to it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Just,
you could almost feel it.
it
Yeah.
resonates through your body. Just
Mm-hmm.
kind of,
When Pyro was talking last week about when he'd felt it, and he said it almost like it was shaking the liquid in his eyes.
oh,
It was just
yeah.
it it made him. You couldn't hardly see. It's like I get that. I totally get that. What about you, Papa?
Do you want to hear about the first encounter where they were around, or the first time I saw one?
Oh, your very first one. Absolutely. Your very first one.
Okay, so it was 1968, and we were on a Earth Science field trip to Mirror Lake in the Wallowa Mountains. Hi, whoa, whoa.
Look at that pup. Look at that pretty pup.
Is that you, woo woo? You're a good doggy. Yes, you are.
Hey, pup. Look at that.
Who are those smashers? Get them out of here.
It's like, who are these crazy people, Mommy?
I'm hearing people, but I don't see them.
Cowboy, is my microphone doing weird things with my breathing, or do I just suck at breathing nowadays? It says I'm doing a Darth Vader imitation.
Joe.
So anyway, we go up on this field trip. There's about somewhere between 20 and 30 kids. We're in a bunch of cars. They drive out to the middle of nowhere up to the 15 miles on the ridiculously bad dirt road. And this is 1968. Nobody's out here. This is wilderness, a whole stinking place. And so we drove into the middle of the Wallowa Mountains on the Lostine River. And hiked up the trail, 7.5 mile trail up the Lostine River to Mirror Lake. We hiked halfway up the first night, camped out, made a lot of kid noises, I was like almost 17, and that was about the age of all the other people, a little above, a little below. And our teacher was like 55, little old lady, total expert on the woods and earth science. And she was our earth science teacher, and it was the Earth Science Club. That's what it was. And then up to Mirror Lake, and lots of lessons in geology and earth science and glaciers and plants and wildlife. So it was a really fun trip. And it was a Labor Day weekend, the first weekend of school. And so we had 3 days and 2 nights. So the second night, really. So I had played and goofed around and fished all day long. But then this girl got sick. She got an upper respiratory infection, pneumonia. I don't know what. She couldn't breathe, and she had a really high fever. And we had to get her the heck out of there now. So we... this was in Northeast Oregon, Cowboy. So, yeah, we put a couple of sleeping bags together, either unzipped the bottom or cut holes, depending on the sleeping bag, and stuck 2 poles through them, and 4 of us got drafted to carry her out of there. And I don't remember just what time we started off, but I think it was after dark a ways. And we all got new batteries in our flashlight. We had them big old those old carbon batteries that are worthless. I don't even know if they had heavy duty ones yet. So down the trail we go, happy-go-lucky, joking, carrying on, and trying to cheer her up. It's not working well. It is a hair trigger mic, yeah. So, somewhere down the trail, let's see, it would be about a mile or so down the trail. All the fun was gone. Our little arms and hands were so flippin' tired. We were, getting tired of switching sides, and it was getting to where I was worried my hand had just let go and drop her, and we're going, well, good grief, we still got a long, long ways to go. So we set the litter down, and I'm not sure it happened just like that, but right about that time, right in there, I don't know if we stopped because of the screaming or what, but there was a scream up on the mountainside about a quarter mile away. And it was like you guys said, but it was far enough away, it just vibrated our ears. But it was what was really interesting about it, there was 3 tones in it. I had young 16-year-old ears, and I could hear it just as plain as day. There was a really high-pitched whistle, a howl like a coyote, and a scream. And they were, they resonated in such a way that it definitely made you, stick your finger in your ear. And this friend of mine, I believe he said, yeah, stop, hold still, stop. Listen to this, listen to that. We listened to it and went, wow, that's weird. What is that? And he goes, that is a Bigfoot. This is 68, so I don't know what I've seen. I know I've seen some articles in the newspaper, and I've seen, I don't know, but he said his uncle went to a presentation where he saw a film of a Bigfoot and heard the sounds and stuff, and where he went with his uncle, and he goes, but that's the noise they make. That's it right there. And you don't get to see them very often, So it was creepy. And then we were stopped by a little grove of trees. We're in it. We were in a big, wide open, 4-mile-long meadow with little groves of trees everywhere. Beautiful place. One of them hanging U-shaped valleys that the glaciers carved out. And then the mountains come up steep, and right at the curve, right where the curve ended, was where the screaming was coming from. And as we listened, there was another scream. One was behind us, one was right above us, and one was a little bit ahead of us. There was 3 of them screaming the exact same scream, and they were answering each other. And all 3 of them had that triple tone scream. And then the other 2 guys says, well, what the heck are those lights over there? And I could hear them arguing about that. Can't be lanterns, it's too high up in the air for a lantern, and it's moving around too weird. And it ain't a flashlight. It's too big. And when they came back, and I said, let me go look at them lights. And I looked, and there was 3 orbs, I know now, floating through the air about 200 yards back behind us on our left side. And they were just, floating around, raising up and down, and they were white, with a ever so slightly blue tint. They were about the size of a volleyball. And they weren't like bright like a lantern, you know, but they did light up the ground, but they didn't light out a beam like a flashlight would. And every flashlight and lantern we had in those days had a yellow tint to it. So it wasn't a flashlight or a lantern. And just scratched my head and went back, and I figured out, I'm proud of myself, we took our belts off and tied them to the poles, and then stuck our arms in the loop and held up the litter like that, and that got her up off the ground where she wasn't hitting any more bushes or anything, and away from our legs where we weren't running into it. It was just beautiful. We just booked down the canyon, and the whole time, every now and then, one of them Sasquatches up on the hill would scream at us, and they were, paralleling us on the ridge and screaming at us. No idea why. And they did that for, let's see, with the next 2 miles. I don't know how long it took us to do that, 2 miles, an hour or so, or whatever. And then at the end of the meadow, it drops off, and we go down into the trees through the, I keep forgetting this part every time. It's the woo. Right, exactly. We picked up the litter and took off and started off, and all 4 of our flashlights with brand new batteries went dead at the same time. All 4 of us start banging on our lights, they're going out, they're dimmer, and we'll quick turn them off, save the batteries, we'll need them when we get to the switchbacks. And when we got the switchbacks, they worked, but all 4 brand new battery flashlights went dead at the same time, only a mile or 2 down the trail. And we didn't know what that was. I mean, we're just kids, we weren't trying to solve any mysteries. We were just trying to get that girl out of it. That was way more scary than the screaming up on the hill or the lights. This girl couldn't breathe, and her fever was stupid. So, Cowboy, we probably had her 3 or 3.5 feet off the ground. Oh, how high were the lights? I'm not sure, Cowboy. It was kind of dark. It was a full moon, but I really couldn't tell at 200 yards. But they were higher than people could reach.
Papa, did you see that that 3 a.m. at the playground video where that orby thing, was it?
Yeah, that red orb.
Was that red orb? That?
Yes, only it was white. But it was, how that one wasn't real bright, right?
Yeah.
Like it was a globe with a light inside of it.
Yeah. And it just kind of hovered along, and you see it coming, and it's like, what is that?
Yeah, and the lights followed us down the canyon too. And then at the end there, when we dropped off, went into the trees and down the switchbacks, there was no more screaming, and nothing followed us that I know of, We didn't pay any attention. And we got her out of there and got her back just in time, and we were big heroes and whoopie-ding-dooey. The next morning, when the rest of the kids are coming out, some of the guys were, detailed to carry our packs out. And they run down, and my friend Colby, who was the one that knew anything about Bigfoot, was telling us that's Bigfoot. Of course, we laughed at him. Oh, he caught hell. And, but then I went, that can't be an elk. It can't be a coyote. I don't know what it is, Colby. Mm-hmm. But I asked him, he went back up the trail to see where everybody was, and I believe I leaned up against a tree to take a little nap. But when they got back, I asked him, did you tell the teacher about the Bigfoot up there? And he goes, yeah. I said, well, what's the deal with that? And she said, shut up. Don't talk about that one tiny bit. If you tell people about that, we will never get to go on a field trip up here again. And you will be laughed at like you wouldn't believe. It really sounded like she knew what they were.
Oh, yeah.
She'd been in those mountains all her life. And so that was my first encounter. We shut up. We forgot all about it. I didn't think about it again for several years. And
Wow.
spent lots of times in the mountains in that, next several years and didn't hear anything. Then when I got out of the Army, I got mad at the whole world and just mad at them for drafting me and then being mad at me for going. And so I was, how many, I didn't realize a jillion Vietnam vets went out into the mountains to be hermits. Because that's what I did. And that's when I had a lot more experiences that I didn't have a clue what it was.
Wow.
See, that's what I was saying. I was used to seeing so many people because a lot went to Alaska to be far removed, and yeah.
Right. I bet you there's still some of them ain't seen anybody since they went up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can probably start finding them guys abandoned cabins pretty soon when they die.
No doubt.
When was my last encounter? Says the Squatching Cowboy. Memorial Day this year. No, not this year. Last year.
Wow.
Unless you want to count them last September walking around the tent an encounter, but they do that so much. And, I don't know, so many times in my life. Not very often. Maybe 1 out of 4 or 6 times that Nana and I go out camping. The funny thing is Nana seems to be a Sasquatch magnet. And she can hear them talk to her sometimes. She says some of them can do it and some of them can't.
When you say talk to her, you mean they
Mind speak to her.
Mind speak? Oh.
From clear across the canyon.
I don't doubt that.
So yeah, I don't know. It's only happened once or twice, but we had a last Memorial Day. We were camped with a family of them. I nailed it. I hit it. She says, "I want to go see one." And I go, "Oh man, you're nuts." Okay, where is a good place this time of year? Because I spend all of the spring walking around in the mountains looking for mushrooms, and then just all the time I'm walking around out in the mountains and I hear talking. That's probably the sound I hear most out of Sasquatch in the woods is you're not. Just be short little things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many times I've gone looking for the people that made that noise, but you can chase them. Bye, Sharon. We're glad you're okay. And tell them things to be nice. Quit screaming and scaring you.
Yeah, good night, Sharon. Hey, Michael. Yeah, I've heard him talk. I've
Mr.
heard that samurai. Yeah, Mr. Michael. I've heard him speak, and I've had him in my head.
You've had him in your head, huh?
One time, and it wasn't friendly either. I went on a solo camping trip, and I was Barney Badass. I'll be out there by myself because it's not the first time I've done it, but somebody just told me, says, you should do it during a new moon. And my dumb ass did it. And it was dark as hell in that holler, man. It was dark. I built a big ass fire, and it was like that darkness was eating it up. and I'm down there, and I had a pistol on my hip and a rifle in my freaking tent, and both of them were cannons, and I felt about that small when the 300-pound whippoorwill started surrounding my camp. And I had this image in my head of a pissed off whippoorwill, and it was just saying, "Get out. Leave now. Leave now." And I tell you what, I grabbed my rifle, but I left every damn thing else, and I got up the hill, got up I left. I was scared to death. And my dumb ass used to run toward gunfire in my previous job, and that didn't bother me none. This scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, that would freak me out too. That was, one day I was just banging on a tree at one of our camp houses. Nan and I decided to go backpacking. Oh boy, that was 2020. And so we hiked out to this little lake that was, a fairly easy hike for a couple of old people. Nana only did one tumble down the hill, head over heels. And I thought we were going to the hospital then, but what's one of my grandsons say? She's a tough old bird. Don't tell men I said that. Anyway, I was just breaking firewood on a tree. You know how a jillion people do it. But I'd already talked about that was one of the most often ways that I, had contact with something like that, was by breaking my firewood, and then a little while later I'd hear somebody down the way breaking their firewood like that too, but I never found anybody doing it. I'd go looking for them. I'd sneak as quiet as I can, a little crawl even at places, nobody there. So I don't know. You can't sneak up on them, that's for dang sure. Mm-mm. But anyway, I was banging that wood, and Nana says, "Stop it, Papa. Don't do that." And I go, "Why?" She says, "You're going to call in Bigfoot." And I said, what did I say? "Nana, it almost never happens. There ain't no worry about it. I mean, once a year, twice a year, as much as we camp, And she told me later that she had heard a voice in her head right then that says, "I know where you are. Quit talking to me like a baby." Because Papa evidently can't hit them trees very hard anymore. They're a little old and wimpy. Anyway, I said, I just broke the firewood anyway, because she didn't tell me then that she'd heard a voice. Took her a few days to tell me about it. Well, because I laugh at her. And later on that night, there was a knock on the tree. Sounded like a telephone pole being beat on one of them giant 6-foot diameter snags, just kaboom. And Nana goes, "Right, Papa. I told you." When I went out, we were, a little ways in the trees from the lake. So I stepped out and looked around the lake, and there's not a soul there. There's not a soul near us. There's not a soul for 10 miles for sure. And maybe not even 50 after that. But sat there for a little while, kind of wondering, and then it was kaboom again, about a half hour after the first one. And it was a little more around the lake. And then about 15 minutes after that, it was boom, boom. I mean, I have used I logged for 5 years, and I know what, a log being smacked against a tree sounds like, and that's what it sounded like. Now, were they making that sound or were they whacking a tree? I don't know, but I think it was a little less message of, I'll show you how to do a wood knock, dummy.
Oh yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
play like a baby. That's all I could figure. But we did have Darth Vader breathing all around the tent that night. My big 100-pound yellow lab Trigger there trying to get in a sleeping bag with me. And,
I bet.
and he's strong, man. He's pushing me out of it. He'd push me off my little air mattress, the little tiny thin ones I got nowadays. He just pushed me right off of it and take it and try and crawl in the sleeping bag. And I go, "You're supposed to sleep out here in the vestibule, dummy." And he'd push back in. He knows, he's been running around the woods long enough. He knows what they are and knows to be afraid of them because he's probably tried to fight with them the first time.
That's what my dog did. That's exactly what my dog did. Went, and it was a pit bull, and it right shot down to the bottom of my sleeping bag, and wasn't coming out.
Bless its heart.
Yeah, it's funny.
I was just thankful that I wasn't going to be tangling with whatever was out there.
Old and windy. That's
so
me, Ray Dog.
Old Squatch got pissed off at the way you beating on the trees.
Oh yeah, I'm a wimp nowadays. It's official. I mean, I don't know. It's been 10 years now. My 10-month-old daughter beat me up with a square rattle. Just sat her in my lap, gave her a little square rattle, and she bloodied my nose right on the bridge of my nose, split it wide open, and just wailing on me. I'm going, what am I going to do? Swing on her? I had to put her down while I was being beat. I'm bleeding, and I look at Nana and go, it's official. I'm a wimp. I just got beat up by a 10-month-old girl.
Lord have mercy.
Okay, Radar wants to hear about the sighting.
Yeah.
So this was when I nailed it. I wanted to go mushroom picking, and I wanted to see a Sasquatch and pick mushrooms. And I says, "Gosh, I probably got a dozen places. Where's the best one?" And we went there, and we found a little bowl. What was it? Top of a canyon where two ridges meet each other, right? And then there's a little bowl in that, a hollow. And there's a little meadow, and the road comes up, and then they ditched it out. They dug a big ditch in it and put a big berm on it and closed it off, and angered me severely. But we camped right there in that meadow. There's a little creek running by with a big mud hole for the dogs to play in. It was just heaven. And on one of my best mushroom hills right up the hill. And we set up our camp. We backed the pickup in and set up our camp. And we're just sitting there listening to the day. It's absolutely dead silent. Not a bird, nothing, no wind. It was really nice because it had just been really cold and rainy for 3 days. And so it was just a wonderful day. And about evening, I think it was about 7 o'clock in the evening, and the sun was just, see, we're sitting up on this mountain in a bowl on a mountain. I don't know how to explain it all, but the mountain's so big that there's room for a bowl and a hollow and then a mountain way down, right? So we're sitting here looking at the world out here and the sun, and then we've got this other little world in here with trees and hollow. And it started to get, just getting ready to get a little bit chilly. So I said, I'm going to make a fire. And I'd been sitting there for hours with this camera that the guy on Central Florida Bigfoot one of those mirrorless cameras, and I was going to take a picture of a Bigfoot. It had the big lens that you can supposedly get a picture in the trees without it being a blob squatch, right? You can get some definition. So I'm sitting there, well, if they show up, I'll just click it. And so I'm gonna build a fire, put the camera on the table, walked over to the little tree, stuck my head in the tree and started breaking twigs. And then it goes, Papa, get your gun, they're here. And we had a little 22 Magnum pistol, right? I'm kind of laughing and go, what's here, Nana? And she says, Bigfoot's here. It's right over there, right in the road. And I go, well, what? What do you mean, right there? And she goes, yeah, standing right there with his head behind that branch, pretending to be a tree, I think. And I was standing there looking at him real hard to see if I could see breasts. And I didn't, but then I heard a noise behind me. I turned around and turned back, and he was gone. And that's when I hollered at you. So that, happened to her in a flash, right? And so and all of this is, way faster than what I just said it. And I walked over to her, and I looked where she was looking, and I looked in the trees, like maybe still hiding back there. And I saw the weirdest thing. I couldn't figure it out. I thought it was deer hopping. I couldn't figure it hopping away from me, but why are they black and white? We don't have black and white deer. What it was his feet. I was seeing the bottom of the legs under the leaves of the alder trees, and then I was seeing the soles of the feet turn up on each one as he walked, and so I was seeing a flash like that. And then he turned and just showed himself to us, just walked right out. Well, he was in a pole patch, and there was lots of trees behind him, and I think normally it would have been shady enough he would have just messed in, just blended in. I wouldn't have seen him, or would have had a hard time. But the sunlight was shining on every tree, or most of the trees, and it was making one little edge of them white. And every time he'd go by that white edge, I'd see his whole outline. I'm going, wow, that is good. I don't know what I was doing. Was standing there with my jaw on the ground and my heart in my throat, going. And I think I said something stupid to Nana, like, "There he goes," and.
Sounds like Paul Freeman.
Yeah, I know. That's your mind is not really doing real sharp things right about then. Pretty stressed out, and it was about 3 seconds. And then he got behind some more alders and went down the road and on the other side of the creek, and I'm pretty sure along the hill, but. We made a fire and sat down. A little while later, I either heard a tree knock or the samurai talk or whatever. And they would do whoops or talking or tree knocks. And we just sat there, in the evening, listened to that sometime, and I don't know, 9 o'clock or something as usual. Nana and Papa get kind of tired and go to bed. So we went to bed, and I fell rock solid sound asleep, and Nana laid there and listened to him walking around the camp all night. Got up early the next morning, and I went to sneak up the hill before the dogs caught me. Anyway, whatever. I went up the hill to pick some mushrooms. And the dogs did not come with me. And I thought, that's pretty weird. But they also like to stay and protect Nana, too. They protect her way more than me. So me and my little bucket and my 3-inch knife go up the hill. and start picking these morels. It's actually a mountain. And so we're heading up at an angle, and after a little while, oh, I told you this last night, I think, maybe, or Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started hearing a little ticking noise.
And you had your infrasound incident. That's crazy.
Nope, that was with Duke up in Alaska. But yeah, I've had that
Oh.
infrasound in another place. This place, like somebody was saying, sometimes they seem friendly and sometimes they seem really mean.
Mm-hmm.
In this place, these things were just nice. I mean, the kids, Nana's pretty sure of it. Anyway, yeah, so it was ticking. I couldn't catch it, I tried to cut it off ahead of me, and it was gone. And just little rocks rolling down the hill. But I mean, it was, how could it move that fast?
Right.
And Mr. Lee, I don't know what the structures mean. I think they're talking to each other, not us. Yeah. And there was all conifers, no granite on that place. The other place got tons of it. And yes, there was a little creek running through. And so, yeah, it was just a good weekend. I mean, we sat there all that day, the rest of the day, and the dogs would lay by us. They didn't go over and play by those trees anymore. They didn't go play in the creek. They just laid there right by us, and we were hearing wood knocks, whoops, and talking every now and then. And the thing I keep forgetting to tell everybody about that is, yeah, it was that night. We got kind of bored of just sitting there being quiet, so we wanted to listen to some music. So I went to the truck, and opened the doors because we have some great big speakers in the doors that just boom it. And I started to turn on the radio to tune in a country station. I think we get about one or two country stations out there. And I hollered out into the woods, "You guys like country?" I hope so. I don't want to piss anybody off. And I cranked it. And we were just having a great time. I don't know, an hour or two later, something. I think one of Nana's favorite songs came on, and we're just sitting there, and she grabs my arm and she says, "Papa, listen. Next time we get to the end of this verse, there's going to be 3 great big drum beats to end the verse. And there's somebody knocking on a tree with those drum beats. The last 2 verses, they did it." And so I listened, and here come at the last verse, and it's boom, boom, boom. You could, because he was far enough away, that the sound had to travel to him and then back to us, you could hear it slightly behind the radio. There'd be a drum beat on the radio, and then...
Wow.
And I slapped my leg and laughed and dang near rolled on the ground. I'm going, I don't believe this. This is no way, And the dogs all day long would lay by us and look up. You'd see them looking up in the trees. And I go, Nana, one's trying to sneak down on us right now. The dogs know it's there. And so that was my last one, other than they came up and marched around the tent one night in elk season when Nana was there. See, it's always when Nana's there. I hear wood knocks and stuff. I have run right into them once when Nana wasn't.
Can I ask you something about the wood knocks? How many different type of wood knocks have you heard? And have you heard any small rapping, almost like a woodpecker?
Yes, and
But
I've always decided that's got to be one of those pileated woodpeckers. They make a really loud knock on a tree,
yeah.
and they'll do it really fast, and they'll
Mm-hmm.
do them one at a time, and so because of that, I can't debunk any of those little knocks I hear.
Right.
But the
Right.
different kinds I've heard, and it was cool that time because I could tell when they were knocking on a tree that had bark on it. You can tell that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even breaking your firewood, you don't want to hit a tree with bark on it because it doesn't, it doesn't stop it fast enough to break the wood. And so that was, and you can tell when they're hitting it on a bare tree, because it does that. And whether they do that or
Yeah.
not, I don't know. But they sure could be doing that because it's both of those two can really sound close. But that one where they're hitting it on the bark, you can
Mm-hmm.
tell that that's a wood they're beating on something.
Right.
And then, what in the world could make a noise that sounds like somebody hitting a giant snag with a telephone pole? What the heck we got that can make that sound? I mean, this is in the kind of in the edge of the wild, wild, wild mountains up in the John Day wilderness.
Their ability to mimic um, is crazy. It's the only one time I've interacted with that. Um, it was in the wintertime. I guess it was in February, March, about around this time of year. And there, there was still a little snow on the ground. And where I was at, on either end, it's like 3 or 4 miles in either direction to any type of civilization, and I heard cars, I heard traffic in the holler, and there was no way you could hear that. No
Right.
way. It's like, where the hell is that coming from? How are they making that noise? What is it there? I've heard of them making noise like a tractor. I've heard them make the noise like a rusty gate or something like that. I've heard of that. I haven't heard it myself, but the traffic thing I heard, and that's the only thing I could think of. There was no way that the sound from the creek, that little creek, and it would. There's no way it could travel that far. Not the sound. No, no way.
Right. I like to camp by some of them rivers and creeks sometimes because just to hear them sing at me.
Hmm.
Because if you get the right little ripple or something there, they will. You can actually hear young ladies' voices singing at you every now and then. It's real pretty. Now I don't
Hmm.
know if that's spooks or the creek, but I'm pretty sure it's the creek. It's just some of them water bubbles going. Oh, okay. I don't know. I could go for a couple of days, so never mind. I mean, I spent 53 years wandering around in them hills all the time, except for, I'd take off and go fishing for 6 months, but then I'd come back and wander around the hills. Kawinky dink.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know because like there's people that talk about coincidence and then synchronicities, and are they, is it one or the other? Are they it's the same thing? I think it, especially when you look at probabilities, because the more that you go along in this world, the likelihood that the probabilities of certain things will start to stack upon each other. So when you've got probabilities that play into effect with coincidence and stuff, I don't know, but I think there's too much similarities to ignore. Way too many similarities. That people that would have different backgrounds, different environments, terrain, it doesn't seem to matter, but there's certain key elements that resonate consistently.
Yeah. There's a common denominator in all of our experiences.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Now, what I'm not sure what in coincidence you were referring to, but yeah.
Yeah, there might not be
Yeah.
any coincidences.
I
But
don't think so. I don't know.
when something's a really low probability, you can call it one, right?
Maybe.
Because there's nothing, nothing certain.
Right.
It's all about probability.
Yeah. What is the common denominator? Exactly. Like there's people that have been looking at, well, were they going through a major event in their life at that time? And, I've looked back at my situations and I can't, that doesn't really align for my story so much. So I don't know about like, the emotional traumatic side, like they were saying, like people that have had. I'm not saying that I've had a perfect freaking lolly lolly troll up through the tulips lifestyle, but it's
Yeah.
but at the same time, I don't. Yeah, and like that walk, I don't. There wasn't anything really significant going on in my life. Like when I was on the deck, training for the Iron Dog, out with the walks with friends, those kind of things. There wasn't any key like traumatic events. Um, but I can understand that there, we want to try and find answers or these like what 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 makes a person so susceptible to multiple encounters, like someone like
Yeah.
me, like that. I am just like they could have come out and danced in front of me, obviously, and I'd have been like, oh, that's interesting. For
Yeah.
whatever reason, they were not.
All right, they're not there.
Yeah.
They don't live here. There's no such thing. It cannot be. It cannot
Hmm.
exist.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was Nana told me she saw one when I really started investigating it. I went, huh? I wonder. So the common denominator, Mister Lee, I think is we hear these noises, right? And they're very similar noises. The talking, the tree knocks, the screaming and roaring, um, trees being pushed over. Everybody hears trees getting pushed over when they shouldn't be falling over.
Hmm.
And the way the dogs act, they won't track them. They stop and lay down when they're trying to track one. They run and hide in your sleeping bag or run and hide under the porch. Or
Well, I have a friend. Well, it's my dad's really good friend who hunts bear with dogs, and he uses mules, and they go way out, and he's very adamant they don't exist. I've never seen him. If I was to see him, and he's been all over Oregon, Washington, Alaska, so the three big remote areas, and he's so adamant. But like and he always says, "Oh, my dogs would attract one if they were out there. My dogs would attract him." And I'm just curious, would they?
I don't know. Like I said, Trigger will not track him. When he runs into him when I'm out mushrooming, he comes right back to me, heels real tight. He's actually leaning on my leg really hard, right? And it's almost like he's trying to turn me around and go, let's go back to the truck and pick somewhere else, Papa. And, sometimes he won't get out of the truck or goes back to it and gets in it. And this is a wild mountain boy. And so it doesn't happen very often, but I go, oh, did you find something that didn't like you?
We will do that here. We've gone to a few places here in Oregon, and she will not get out of the vehicle. Will not, and it's like, what is going on? And one night, I took my son and I, and it was just him and I wanted to go camping for the night before we went back to Alaska. And so we went out, just him and I, and we got way out in these logging roads. And I didn't know you're not supposed to camp out there, but whatever.
You're going to try fucking camp.
You're right. See the Alaskan plates? That should answer all your questions.
That's right. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Weyerhaeuser sold their land. A bunch of those guys sold their land. A bunch of people from back east bought it and posted it.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't know that, but either way, so we were out there, and I was like, "Man, this is so cool! I can't believe nobody's out here camping. Why are we the only ones?" Yeah, there's laws, but we would not get out of the Suburban that whole night and the rest of the day, and we stayed another night because we were having so much fun, and she would not have anything to do with it. And that night was that night that Joe and I joked because we said it was like a loose cow that was going around the mountain just making the weirdest cow noises. But
they do copy cows. I have seen that a lot of times, and sometimes they're so good at it I can't tell. But I used to be really good at copying cows.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a weird night. That's funny, Byron.
You rebel.
You are. It's no doubt. It's a requirement in Alaska.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Kind of a requirement in Eastern Oregon. We voted ourselves out of this state. We're in Idaho now. But, so, and then the other thing about the dogs is Rosie's a puppy. She's a chocolate lab. She's a hunter and a half, right? And she got up that next morning and I could see her tracking that Sasquatch around the camp. You know, it was almost light, and I'm laying there peeking out the window of the tent, whatever, and Rosie's out there sniffing along the ground, and she took one lap around and went and came and got Trigger, and then I see Trigger following her, limping around behind her around the camp, and she would come right down the little trails where I go, oh, look, this is right where they snuck down behind that tree to peek from behind those bushes, you know, the brushy tree. And Michael, you have a male Chihuahua? Minnie wants to meet him.
Hookup happening on the Ravens outpost.
Wow. We're now a dog dating app. It's great. This is great. Well, my dog hooked up with his dog over at Ravens outpost. You should go over now.
Does he get pick of the litter?
Oh, Lordy. You know, when you talk about what's the common denominator with all our experiences, one thing I've picked up on too is how there are quite often times when somebody who's had an interaction with some type of cryptid has also had interactions with spirit activity, ghosts, you know, or UFOs. There's a lot of people who have had multiple experiences with all three. And I'm trying to figure out what that is. You know, I've often thought about, you know, like we were talking about the other night on Bigfoot Odyssey, and my theory about vibrational frequencies and all that. Wonder if that might be it. But I could be totally wrong.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm looking and looking, and But we also have another thing over here. I gotta do a lot more research, see if I can. I can't find a lot about it. We have that hide behind.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shadow. It's a blob shadow,
Mm-hmm.
and it sits on the ground in the night, in the dark, and it
Mm-hmm.
ever so slowly moves behind a tree and watches you, or acts like it's a Sasquatch watching you. And it's just a big, I mean, a blacker than black shadow. And they'll sit there and not move forever, and then they'll slowly move, or they can just go flash gone. And we have lots of sizes of them. We got another, about, what, basketball size shadow that I can't tell whether it's, a blob or perfectly round because it always flashes across in front of me really fast or comes up from behind me and they go really fast. That's what people say are elementals or something, whatever the heck
Yeah,
elementals are.
that's what it sounds like to me. It's a spiritual entity. They were referred to as a trans-dimensional entity, kind of like the shadow people. Those flickers of shadow that you'll catch out of the corner of your eye, the movement. You know, a lot of people talk about, and they're attached to the earth. They're referred to as spirits of the earth, or what have you. But yeah, I've heard about those before in certain Native American folklore. The hide behinds.
Yeah, and the pioneers around here were going, watch for the hide behinds.
Yeah,
I've
They're
never heard
malevolent.
that
to snatch you
before.
up.
I know of the black shadow things, but I've never heard. They call them what? Hide behinds?
Hide
Yeah,
behinds. Yeah.
I think that's a Native American term. That's the English translation of.
Right. Right.
And that's out in the woods. Like
Yeah, it's out
Mm-hmm.
in
one of the
our
last
woods.
nights before I
Mm-hmm.
left Alaska, I was out by the fire pit and I was messing around with my tripod, and everybody was inside. Dogs, all the animals were. And out of the corner of my eye, I thought it was someone like walking towards my tripod. Like it was someone and I looked, but there was no one there. I was just like, I
Mm-hmm.
know I saw someone.
Mm-hmm.
I know I saw something. That stuff's so weird.
Yeah,
Or like what my cat was just doing when they sit there and stare at the wall and then chase
Right.
whatever is non-existent. I don't know if you saw that, but that's what was happening. My cat was doing that just a little bit ago.
It's,
That stuff's so creepy.
children and animals can see things adults can't.
I'm sure of it. Yeah, I remember a story. My 14-year-old, what would she be? Cousin. They were taking care of my grandma as she was dying, right? And she was doing really bad, suffering from Parkinson's or something. And they were actually praying for, Lord, would you let Grandpa come and get Grandma? This is torture. And 14-year-old girl perked up one night and says, "Hey, Grandpa's here." And Grandma died.
Mm.
I have a lot of stories like that in my family. I have a half brother. See, my dad came home from the Air Force when I was like 4 or 5, and my mom got a divorce from him and married the neighbor, and I didn't see him for 30 years. But during that 30 years, he had 10 more kids, and I find out I got 10 more brothers and sisters, and at least one of them is psychic and pretty psychic. I mean, when he was 6 years old, he'd sit out on the swing talking to our matriarch, the oldest member of our family that we can find from one side. ran away from the king of Sweden with her little boy years ago and hid in Idaho to get away from him. And well, because she was a slave and he screwed her and she got pregnant, and the kid's got to die, or he's got, you know. So she got away to America and hid. And he would be sitting on the swing at 6 years old talking to this lady, and he was speaking Swedish. So he's, you know, he can tell all kinds of things like that, you know. I mean, I've got experience with him just telling me what's going to happen to me. And if he sees it, you know, he doesn't see everything. But when my dad was dying, I finally went back to see him and say goodbye to him. And because he wasn't going to come see me. I don't know why. I didn't run away. He thought I did. But anyway, he was saying, there's 4 people sitting above the headboard in the bedroom there. They're coming to get him. He's going to die any time. And there's 3 demons sitting on the barn. So that's, you know, that's kind of simple spiritual things that I've heard of, you know. My sister was dying last year, and he says, Grandpa and your brother are on their way to get him right now, or to get her. And she died.
Wow.
So, yeah, he's pretty sharp about that. He's not, he says it's nothing like when he was a kid, but he can see things. He just doesn't like it, and he tries to get away from it.
Yeah. I guess society's tried to dull that sense a little bit. I think that's what happens to all of us.
I think society's doing it to him. I think you're right.
Yeah. When I get back to, you know, everybody wants to find a science to everything, and I'm looking, and I thank Ron Moorhead for this, and my look at quantum physics and vibrational frequencies and how everybody resonates at their own specific frequency, and how some beings can be in tune more so than others, you know. And Jackie, in your case, you may not have to have some type of traumatic event to alter your vibrational frequency. Maybe your frequency has always been that way. You know, you've had these experiences and just brushed it off. That's just this and that. It's just that. And it happens. And one day you wake up, like you were telling us, and that's what that was. And yeah, you have that eye-opening experience. And there's a lot of people who are like that. And I've met a couple people who I believe are sensitives, to the point to where I believe they could possibly be a medium if they were to actually exercise this gift. But they don't, and they don't want to have anything to do with it. They're like, nope. That young couple I did the documentary on 3 months ago, Heather, I believe she's got the potential to be a medium. I believe she's very sensitive, and she's had paranormal experiences all her life. And you get to talking about all the stuff that went around their house, and you know, with the lights, the UFOs, the Bigfoot, the animal mutilations. Some of it bothered her, yes, but not to the extent it would bother most people. Why? Because she's had these experiences all her life. Some people have it, some people don't. And I just think it boils right down to vibrational frequency. And I think there are certain things that can alter our vibrational frequency to make us more susceptible. And I got to thinking about this, and I mentioned this earlier tonight, like Carrie's encounter. How many people did he lose that year? Was it 9? 9 people that he lost that year, family members, friends that he lost, and he was hurting, he was grieving. You know, he's out in the woods and he's still feeling that. This is just my theory. It's just a theory. I've got no way to prove this. It's just observation, you know. But what if it's so? What if it's so? It's like how Nana can hear them and you can't. How they hone in on her and they don't hone in on you. Why is that? Maybe it's her vibrational frequencies that much more different than yours.
It is too. It is, yeah. Maybe Iron Dog is just running around and her aura's blue all the time. And
Have you heard of cymatics?
Yes.
Where they use they get the sand on the board, and then they use different frequency and the
Shape it.
sacred, all the geometric patterns that come out from all the different frequencies, and
Right.
And then they start tuning it into, oh, this is our frequency for the galaxy, and before you know it, our galaxy is like right there on the, it is so intriguing. I love that kind of stuff. And then you add the other layer of, some people can see auras, like Papa was just saying. Did you say Nana had a blue aura? Is that what you said, Papa?
no, you got one.
I got a blue aura?
Yeah, Nana's is always blue. Mine's pretty much always blue.
Huh.
But the thing is, see, I got some. I mean, I can always tell when they're around. You can feel them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's another thing, I keep forgetting, and you can feel their mood, There's either kind of creepy, there's something around her don't like me, or there's something that really don't like me, and, it's like the feeling of impending doom and skin crawling and fear, like a bear or mountain lion's trying to sneak up on you, and or the wolves are circling you.
The last encounter I had was back in April of last year. My nephew and I got together. We're going to have a camp out. He's moving out west. And it's going to be a while before we see each other. I mean, the boy's like a son to me. And we're hanging out all night, and we heard the wood knocks early on, and then we started hearing the animal, the owls, and we hear this one owl that didn't sound a lot like an owl at all. And that's when my nephew's like, "What the hell was that?" And I told him it's a Sasquatch out there. And that whole night, they were around us, and I could tell they were around us all night long. But nary once did I feel threatened at all, not once. And we heard the chatter, and it sounded like a little old Asian lady. I could just almost picture her wagging her finger. Something like that. You almost see that. It was great, but it was a totally different night. It was a pleasant experience. It wasn't like the last time I was surrounded by them rascals when they run me out. It's pretty cool.
Right. It is different with. See, the big mean one that says, "Don't talk to me like a baby." Well, it was a different place, and that's where Nana could hear that voice, and we could feel the fear. We could doom, creepy feeling. And then last year, when we were camped with them, there was nothing. I mean, I'm walking up the hill and one's paralleling me, and I'm laughing at him. "You're right up there, aren't you? That's not a damn wren." And the last morning, Nana went for a walk with the dogs and comes back and she goes, "Well, I know what that ticking is you've been talking about, Papa." I says, "Did it stop when you stopped?" She goes, "Yep." And it went when I went. And the dogs kept looking up there. And then, we were hearing these wood knocks and talking and all this down in the one general area. And as we were leaving, we wanted to stop one more time and pick some mushrooms at a little ridge I wanted to go up down the road a little ways. Well, it turned out it was right on the other side of the road from where they were making the noise. And here goes Nana just off into the pucker brush out picking mushrooms. She had a big old shirt full of mushrooms when when I found her down there. But she was looking for signs of those critters out there. She was doing some investigating. I'm going, oh, Nana, we don't do that. We just camp. We're getting the hell out of here. I don't mind if they come and look at me from a distance, but I don't want to bump into one. They are friggin' big. That one we saw there walking around our camp, we went and measured where its head was up behind that tree, and it was 9 feet tall.
I haven't seen one yet, and I've tried to picture in my mind what it would be like, but I don't know.
I think if it's close, it'll scare the living daylights out of you just because they're so goofy looking and big. They got a look on their face. It's
I might just mess myself. I don't know.
No, I don't. You can't tell which one it is. Either the pucker factor is huge and you can't, or it all comes loose. But I'm glad I handle fear with a pucker factor.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Usually.
Pucker factor
Yeah.
5,000.
Pucker factor 5,000. That's a dang boats. Oh my gosh. See, and that's crazy. I've always gone looking for danger. So
I used to.
I climbed mountains until one day on the middle of a cliff, the fear hit me. That's what some of those guys, if the fear hits you, you're probably done. And it did. I was froze on there for half a morning before I could move myself back. And it was getting pretty close to like losing the strength to hang on and falling off a cliff. So I haven't done much of that since then. And I was good at it too. So,
Well, Jake is up in King Salmon looking for boats. And
I wondered if he was.
Yeah, the original boat he went up for, the electrical on it is trash. But while he's up there, he has had 3 different people tell him Bigfoot stories.
That's awesome.
Just from seeing you guys, huh?
3 different people have come up to him and told him different, just random conversation, and it came up, and he's heard of. So I can't wait till he gets home to tell me these.
So they've just seen him on YouTube, huh? YouTube.
No, they were talking. He's out there talking to them, and for whatever reason, the conversation just went to Bigfoot, and they were telling him these stories, and so he's
just random out of the blue.
Fred Myers in the vegetable department, and he told him one. I'm like, you know what?
Wow. Wow.
As far as I know, nobody around here talks about it, but we did have a Squatch America used to be Blue Mountain Sasquatch organization, and they're from here. And now I forgot what I'm so tired I'm going to fall over. And what were we talking about?
Sasquatch encounters. People talk about them.
Yeah, they said that.
Stories.
Yeah, no, they said there's a jillion reports of Sasquatch around here. They got them. They had a big sign out, tell us about your Sasquatch stories, And they have a very small YouTube channel. They can't get traction Anyway, and they're really funny. You should watch them. Squatch America. They're on tomorrow at 5 here. But they're so funny. But anyway, yeah, they see them all the time here. But I never talked to anybody. I even got to see my ex-wife over Christmas or something. My first wife, mother of my kids. So I was over there, and I says, "Did I ever talk to you about Sasquatch? We were married 13 years. Did I ever talk to you about Sasquatch?" She goes, "Not once, not ever." And I go, "No, nobody talked about it. Yeah, not ever." And I mean, I had a good enough experience. I would have told, like Nana. I wouldn't have told her. She'd have laughed at me. I mean, and that's all it takes to keep somebody from talking, It's just somebody would giggle in the middle of your story. Somebody would roll their eyes and like, "Nah, shut up. I'm going to go talk to somebody who knows what's up."
Right. Exactly.
And so I wonder how many people are out there like that. I know there's got to be a lot out here. You go to a lot of towns in Oregon, they got Bigfoot this, Bigfoot that. This town is nobody.
Really?
Wow.
I've seen 2 little tiny stickers in the back of their pickup window, going squatching, or "I'd rather be squatching it,"
Right.
Yeah.
And then I saw somebody with a big t-shirt on. I go, "So, I see you got a Bigfoot on there. You ever seen one of them things?" "No." And they didn't want to talk to me.
Wow. Well, around here, no. You have to hunt them up. I mean, we're like unicorns around here. People like me, we're a rare breed. You don't find a lot of people who who openly admit they've had any type of experience. I mean, they're more likely to have a ghost story than a Bigfoot story.
Right.
Because around here, you say you're investigating Sasquatch, and they'll look at you like you got 2 heads.
"Hey, buddy, your second head is on crooked."
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So, luckily, I'm old enough where I just don't give a shit. I don't. My wife, though, she's like, "Oh, Lord." She's not in all that.
It's been interesting watching my husband make the transition, like, I don't know, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined him entertaining the subject at all, and the more he's, I've been talking about it and then doing everything that I've got my little paws into, it's just really funny though. Like you said, when he went to the Fred Meyer there in Anchorage, he told the guy who just got up from Oregon, and the guy was like, "Oh, did you see Bigfoot?" I mean, right straight out the gate.
Wow.
He's like, "I saw him up here. I see him all the time." And then he started telling him about his experience out on the trail. Yeah, down by Turnagain. And then he was starting to tell him about these other, like 4 of his other buddies who've had experiences. And I'm like, where are these people?
I know, right? I I get so tickled when I'm actually able to talk to somebody who's had other experiences like you guys. I mean, physically talk to you. It's one thing when I'm watching a program that's got people on it, but if I'm actually able to converse with you and share experiences, man, it's like a breath of fresh air to me.
Yeah.
It really is. Hear everybody's stories. I mean, and I told my wife this the other day. I told her, I said, I've recited some of my own stories a couple of times. Listening to some of them, there's a bunch I've got. I've had a lot of experiences, a lot of stuff happened to me over the years, and it even sounds crazy to me. And I'm like, how are other people going to perceive this if I think it sounds crazy? You know? So that's why I started this channel. That's why I did what I did with this, so people can come and just share their stories and not have to worry about feeling that way. You ain't gonna get laughed at here.
Yeah, it's nice to have found this one, you know.
Yeah, I think the more that the community starts opening up and allowing more people to share these, whatever experience, they keep saying, oh, is it the woo camp or the flesh and blood? I think the camps need to just stop. Like, just
Right.
get rid. Why is it? Who drew the line in the sand in the first place, and why is there a line in the sand? Like, knock it off. Like, just
Right.
let's move forward, because you know what? 50 years, where has it gone?
We're not getting anywhere doing
There's
this.
an anchor. Everybody's just keeps pulling everybody back, because that negativity is going to keep pulling people back. And yes,
Exactly.
there is some deception. For whatever reason, but it's something that I find semi easy detectable. After a while, when you start listening, it's very few people go, oh, Peter Kane's for real. Like,
Right.
After a while, they're like, oh, I get it. Okay. All right.
Mhm.
And they move along, but I understand that there are some people that feel the need that, we need some gatekeepers to say, oh, this is valid, this isn't valid.
Right.
I understand there's all of these different things going on, but in order for anything to go forward, we have to stop dragging everybody back.
Exactly. It's was it Ray says likes likeness. Every around here, about everybody here in the channel right now has had an experience of some sort, and I like to call experiencers. And well, we all got to come together, man. It's like you say, the camps have got to go away. It's all connected, I think. It's all connected in some
Right.
form or other.
Nobody's got any proof that it isn't.
Exactly.
Like, what is that camp, like you said? That
Exactly.
camp, yeah, that got me 53 years of walking around in the middle of them and not knowing.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about when I first started in this Bigfoot odyssey of my own. I was in that flesh and blood camp, and I was watching a documentary. What was it? What was the name of it? It's on. I think it's still on Amazon. The Unwanted Sasquatch, I think it's called. And they were showing this one clip from this news show or something. They had a panel of people talking about Sasquatch and their interactions with them and so on and so forth. And this one fella started talking about portals and teleporting and all this other stuff. And I was one of those assholes who laughed at it. And now I don't laugh at that stuff. I don't laugh because we don't know.
That's right.
We don't know.
That's right. That I just keep forgetting this one, but that Skinwalker Ranch, there was a bunch of government officials and scientists standing there watching a portal open up and a Sasquatch figure crawl out of it.
Right.
And run off.
Right.
All those guys saw it. What the heck was that? Some kind of mass hallucination, they probably say, but...
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot there's so much that we don't know. Dividing ourselves is not helping anything.
And I think if the UFO community and the paranormal, the ghost hunter community were to come together with us, well, I say us, well, with the cryptid community, everybody comes together compare notes
Yeah.
and see what similarities we have here. I think we would truly be surprised
Yeah.
at well, that's happening here and it's happening here. It's all happening.
Yeah. There's something to it all. And yeah, Pyro, to answer your question, my son is very intrigued by the whole thing, and he won't he won't formulate an opinion yet. He was very adamant that they had to be flesh and blood kind of thing. And then when we went out and tried Patrick Vaughn's knocking method technique and all of that happened out there, all of us were like, okay. Because they went and looked for tracks and there was snow. I mean, they would have found some kind of, so there's something going on, that you cannot explain with this factor. And so that's where he's really intrigued by there seems to be some kind of other, because I know I'm having trouble with putting this to words, but like you said, there's more to just the flesh and blood.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah.
obviously more to just the flesh and blood, because you go out there and you hear this stuff, and it's not the trees popping. Like, I know what a tree pop sounds like, and then when you hear that very distinctive, deep, loud, reverberating sound, there's a difference. And
Yeah.
when you
Oh
go to
yeah.
those areas, and we did it before there was snow, when there was snow, all that kind of stuff, deep, you've got deep grass, there would have been evidence of something trucking around in there. And so when like even that time where I was standing right in front of that tree and I heard that growl, it was audible. Like, my husband heard it and came out. Like, there was but nothing was there. There was nothing there. No tracks. It's all snow. There's no tracks, but there was something audible right there. You know,
Right,
oh,
right.
there's
That always freaks
something
me
going
out.
on with it, and maybe that's the reason why they're not being recognized openly.
Very well
So
could be.
yeah, I brought this up to my son too. This is after I went, okay, I'm going to start figuring out what's going on with these, because Nana obviously really saw one. And but I asked my son, I says, we haven't talked about Sasquatch in the whole 20 years that you and I have been hunting and mushroom picking together, right? He says, no, not ever. Not, and I know we had not once. And I says, well, that elk that we tracked down and wasn't there? Says, night, Chrissy. Uh,
Good night, Chrissy.
yeah, I about better get ready to go too. And he said, he
Yeah.
says, I said,
For
remember that
hours.
elk? Do you think that a Sasquatch could have ran off with that? Because one of the things he says is we gave up trying to track it, when he just got weirded out and wandered off. And he says, what the happened? Did the damn Sasquatch jump out of the tree and run off with it? I was so tired of him being angry about not finding it that this is, yeah, probably something. I says, do you think that could have really happened? Because I hear it happens to other people. And he says, no, they're not that big. I went, here I was afraid to bring up Sasquatch to him because he's going to laugh at me. And he goes, no, they're not that big. I go, well, what if they got footprints about 2 feet long? And he goes, no, I see them up in the swamp up there all the time. It's in the mud that dried out. They get bigger. I'm going, no, they don't. Not in the mud, only in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Mud gets smaller. But anyway, so yeah, he was camping with his girlfriend this last spring, picking mushrooms, and at tree knocks and marching around the camp all night long, and whoops, and he goes, and she says, I believe in him now. So yeah, that's was pretty scared to bring up any of it to family, you know.
Yeah, I think that one Bigfoot show, the unnamed show, that I think it's doing a good thing in the regard that it's opened up the conversation.
It did, and they have experiences on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, after Nana saw one, she watched every episode of that show twice. I was going like, I tried and tried, but I just got tired of watching a TV screen that was black and white because they had bad night vision back then.
Well, it's just like Les Stroud's journey.
Oh man!
I mean, after he had those experiences with that night with the orbs and stuff, it flipped his lid,
And them stupid things, I believe it. I don't think he's trying to fake us. He put stuff out, and they took it, and they turned the camera off while they took it. Because as soon, when the stuff was gone, the camera came back on and took a picture of it being gone. He set out apples. He set out a sandwich and an apple at one lake. He'd come back, and he'd show the footage, right? There's the apple sitting there, flash, it's gone. And he went to every length he could possibly go to so Standing wouldn't hoax him.
Right.
And he didn't know about the natives in, I can't think of the town.
His YouTube channel, he's got a lot of his Bigfoot videos in there. Yeah.
Right, yeah. I watched him and I ate up everything about Todd Standing, because that's why I'm mad at him, because I gobbled it all up and then look online and here's Todd's face and here's the booger's face. But I'm sure Todd Standing's seen him and knows a lot about him. I think he just sometimes got too pissed off that he couldn't get a good picture.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, these are the orbs that Pyro sent to me. Those are the ones that were in that picture. And they look like, they're not refractions of light, whatever these are.
No, refraction won't do it. They're Christmas tree ornaments on a Walmart Christmas tree, Pyro. It's all done.
Sure enough. But there's
the pattern in that one.
Yeah. Both of them.
It's crazy, ain't it? It's some type of energy signature.
Yeah, because
like flower of life geometric.
Yeah, it'll leave that signature. I've seen that a lot of times. Boy, that really does look like Christmas tree ornaments on a Walmart Christmas tree.
Kind of does, doesn't it? I mean, jeez. But yeah, that's really cool. He sent me that a while ago. We got caught up in conversation and just kind of like slipped my mind. And he says, "You gonna show that or not?" I'm like, "Oh, sorry, dude. Sorry, dude."
Sorry.
Lord. All right, guys, we're creeping up on 3 hours. This is the longest show in a while. Yeah.
And in 5 hours, I'm going to be delivered a rambunctious little 3-year-old that I got to try and stay awake for.
Bless your heart.
Good luck with that.
I have got a grandson that they handed to me when he was 6 months old and says, "Here, we have to work. We don't have a babysitter. We can't afford one. Can you do it for us? And so I've raised this little guy while they're at work from 6 months old. And I even take him to preschool every day, which I'm paying for, and teaching him not to say, "You stupid bitch." His mother taught him that.
Lord have mercy.
Wow. Yeah. That's not really.
I can see that on his resume.
Preschools that I know of.
I can see that on his resume. I got kicked out of preschool when I was 3.5 for calling the teacher a
Wow.
Every preschool I've been kicked out of. Way to go.
Oh, man. Well, Craig, Jackie, I really appreciate you guys coming on here and hanging out
thanks,
and
Lee.
sharing your stories. You're welcome. You guys are back here. Welcome back here anytime. Is there anything you want to share about your channels or anything like that? Or
I don't have one. Iron Dogger's got a cool one.
I've been kind of quiet a little bit lately, but yeah, I don't know. I hope to get out and do some adventuring here soon. I was going to go out to the river today, but didn't make it. But yeah. And then on Sundays, I'm with Daniela on Bigfoot Odyssey. So that's a lot.
yeah.
Thanks, Pyro.
Yeah.
Okay.
See you soon.
All right.
All right.
Okay, everybody. Take care. Good night,
All right.
everybody.
Good night. Love you guys. See.
Yeah, there we go. You guys are awesome. Everybody here in chat. Hoff, it's good to see you stop by. I'm glad you're able to hang out for a little while. This is a 3-hour stream, pretty much. We did a lot of talking tonight. A lot of information shared, and this is what I like to hear. Learning from each other and not having to worry about somebody thumbing their nose at us, or laughing and being a total jackass. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again soon. Like I said, Friday night, there will be no show Friday night. I will be back, good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. I'll be back Wednesday night with another guest, and he'll be telling us his story. And hold on to your seat, okay? It's a doozy. So, you guys, until then, have a great weekend, and I love you, mean it.